I was in a great mood yesterday. Got to see my daughter, got to spend time with my beautiful wife. Everything happened that I wanted. All birthday wishes, all candles were blown out, and wishes came true. The biggest wish, of course, is Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. The dream. A lot to celebrate yesterday. Until about 9:05. Okay? That's when I get a phone call from a producer.
AM
Paul,
or PM?
PM. 9:05 p.m. If it was 9:05 a.m., then I couldn't have had that great of a birth. Like 9:05, I was on the air. 9:05 a.m. yesterday.
All right.
Okay. I get a phone call 9:05 p.m. from Paul, our producer. Now, I was a little out of pocket yesterday because it was my birthday. I was celebrating with my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I got home like 4 minutes before Paul called me. So I put on NXT. I'm catching up on NXT. We'll get into NXT because NXT was very good last night. We'll get into NXT. And Paul says to me, hey, have you watched the Ariel Helwani interview with Goldberg? And I said, you know what? I saw some things like on my Twitter feed and everything, but I obviously hadn't had a chance to watch it. He goes, I think you should. So I watched it.
So Paul's instigated this on your birthday.
Well, as soon as I got off the phone with Paul, I watched it. Like I stopped watching NXT because I could always go back and watch that. But I was very interested in the Goldberg interview with Ariel. And Ariel Helwani, I'm a big fan of. Great guy. And I'm going to say this for the record, and I love to get Ariel Helwani on because that had to be the easiest interview it was like he was interviewing a child. And when I say that, and like, when you talk to a child, Tommy, like, when the child is lying because you could see it on his face. Like, all right, yeah, this kid just and then the truth comes out. That happened like Goldberg looked like the most miserable human being on the face of the earth. He just had his retirement career match 3 days earlier where everybody's praising it. Talking about, wow, man, exceeded expectations. It was great. And then I'm expecting this Ariel Helwani sit down to be kind of like just pats on the back and great and awesome and what a way to go out and all that. It was exactly the opposite. And I mean, Goldberg complained about everything and then did the whole, well, I don't mean to complain. Like, I'm not complaining. Hey, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't mean to complain? What are you talking about that you don't want to complain? You're complaining. You can't complain and then say, well, I'm not complaining. You just complained. You can't complain and then just say, I'm not complaining. You're complaining. You're complaining, Goldberg.
I don't even know what that was, but I personally, and I don't know anything about the subject or I don't know about the situation. Seth Rollins gets hurt. When a wrestler gets hurt, obviously time kind of has to freeze, as well as you have to start quickly assessing. This has happened. It happened with Casey Navarro on our last TV tapings. Casey Navarro gets injured during his match on a dive. He's laying on the floor. We don't know what the hell. So then you have to go into crisis mode. And what do we do? Blah, 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 blah. Cool. We get the end result. Anyway, everybody has to think. You have to have that person at the top who's just like, hold on, this is my decision. First, we have to make sure the wellness for the wrestler. That's the main concern in 2025 and beyond. What is the doctor saying? There's communication. You need to know what's happening. Okay, he cannot go anymore. Obviously, there's communication going out there. You see Seth is talking to Paul. He's talking to the referee. They get the doctor. Time stops. However, television time does not. And then, like a trooper, Seth Rollins like, I could at least take his finish. Gets up, takes the finish. Let's switch the finish because right then and there, if Seth is going over, you have decision makers instantly. What do we do? Do we throw this match out? Do we give it to LA Knight? What do we do? Blah, blah, blah. These are things that have to be made The ultimate decision maker is Triple H, and he makes a decision. LA Knight takes it. If the doctor would have said, hey, you can't take the finish ain't happening. But anyway, when I say this happens in real time, we witnessed it live. You go to the match, it also ate up a lot of time. You have to take him
Yes.
out of the ring. You have to hear the people get the applause. You have to do all these things, and it has to take time. So if your match, you either have to cut stuff out of your match or you have to get your speech cut. Unfortunately, the speech gets cut. I do not think it was personal. You can, we have seen bad moments with, like, hey, Sting, Bill Goldberg, the entire ECW brand of it wasn't treated the best. I do not think this was personal at all. It's also a different regime. And I just think because of time, unfortunately, your speech got cut off. There's also this whole thing of, more people will probably watch it on social media than watch it on the show. And that is a bigger thing.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like what you just said, Tommy, and Tommy, that was a great breakdown because you talk about KC Navarro on a TV taping. This is what happened with Seth Rollins is on live television.
Correct.
It's live. Like you can't adjust. Like you gotta think right on the fly. What do we do? And you can't go to a commercial break because if they went to a commercial break, we would have missed the finish of the
And
match.
they also, if you look at it, there was 2 commercial breaks during Bill's match that seemed awkwardly timed. And you know this sometimes, Dave.
Live
We'll
TV.
go we'll go over on segments of like, hey, we got to take a double break. Why? Because we have commitments to our sponsors. And this is us here. This is national television, NBC, prime time TV. So I do not think it was personal. If you want to take it like that, listen, there's also wrestlers that have, you have your man, like, I wasn't done right. They're going to get me back somehow, some way. Listen, that's a thing. So,
I
but
get it, Tommy, but like
you can't be that
right.
way because it's different management, unless you had issue with Triple H. But I don't think, like, because they want the best. They want people to hear that because his promo was good. His retirement speech was very, very good. And you'd want that on television. You want that final moment for emotional going off the air. But it didn't happen because I feel of all the other circumstances.
Yeah, but even the way that it fell through, and even the way that it happened and it played out, Goldberg had his retirement match on live TV in Atlanta, the best case scenario, the best location on NBC, and you know what? Probably a bigger audience watching Saturday night's main event than it would be for a PLE. Because this is like that's as big of a stage as you can. And then the biggest thing, Tommy, is like, all right, he's giving his retirement speech. You could actually see Michael Cole. You could see in his face, Michael Cole had this like anxiety-ridden face because he knows the clock is ticking. And this is network TV. They're going off at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Bam. There is no bleeding over. This isn't
No.
Raw on Netflix. Or like this is like at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Bam. They are off the air. I thought it was the best case scenario for Goldberg because he had the match and then they got like 30 seconds of his retirement speech. Would you have liked to have more? Yeah, but then that would have what's more important? More of a retirement speech or more of a world championship match when you're in the main event and you're like, I feel like if that match was shorter, then Goldberg would be bitching about, hey man, it's my retirement match. It's the main event on Saturday night's main event. I only get 10 minutes. And then but they gave him a great 14-minute match, which was his longest match in over 20 years. Over 20 years. He's never had a match that long. It was 14 minutes long. And then they got like 30 seconds of his retirement. Tommy, they didn't even need to do that. They didn't even need to give him any of that retirement speech. They could have ended the show and said goodbye and never had to worry about being frantic. But they want to at least give him some time in the ring with his friends and families to say goodbye. Man, I got to give credit to the WWE. I think they did the best they possibly could for Goldberg, and he's unappreciative. And here you're on with Ariel Helwani, what, 2 days after this match, and you're bitching and complaining? I mean, come on, man. Come on. It looks so fucking bad for Goldberg.
I think WWE did a great job of paying homage to the character of Goldberg for having Doug Dillinger knock on the door, having his son, all his friends that helped him in WCW. Chucky Z's there. Everybody does the walk. Everyone, like, it's your final walk to the ring, but it's so you're surrounded by people that love you. And then at the end, he has all of his family and friends in the ring. If WWE wanted to, mess with you, they wouldn't have done it in the beginning or even allowed your friends in the ring. And, Dave, if you remember, that it wasn't my retirement, but it was my last goodbye to ECW. You were there.
Yep. I was
And my farewell was the week before against Lance Hoyt in a meaningless match. And I was like, all right, see you later. And then Vince McMahon was the one that brought me back. Vince literally said, take all the time you want. But when I was talking and I had my daughters, you were there, and I said goodbye. But I also had a guy, the cameraman, putting up his fingers and telling me, hey, dude, we got to get off the air. So you got 3 more minutes, or you have 1 minute. And I knew what I wanted to do. And then I have to sit there and think on the fly, what am I going to cut out? What am I not going to cut out? Dave, I talk for 3 hours a day. I could talk for 5 hours. I could talk for 6 hours on this show nonstop. You want to go 24/7? I will talk the entire fucking show, David. However, what I'm just trying to say is, like, I don't think they did it purposely, and it was just because of time. That's it.
Tommy, you know this. In mainstream sports, not everybody could go out like Peyton Manning. I mean, there's probably you could count on your hand how many people went out like Peyton Manning, where you win a Super Bowl and you got the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and you're like John Elway. You lose and you got the Vince Lombardi above your head. You could count on your hand how many people go out like that. In professional wrestling. How many people? This one's for John. How many professional wrestlers have what Goldberg just had on Saturday? How many?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. As a matter of fact, and I take exception to what this man said, because he mentions The Undertaker. But he mentions, oh, they wouldn't have done this to The Undertaker. The Undertaker didn't have that. The Undertaker didn't have what Goldberg had on Saturday.
Undertaker had a great Hall of Fame speech. They treated him differently for the Hall of Fame, but he had an entire "That's the Undertaker's" goodbye.
The Undertaker's last match was a cinematic match during the fucking pandemic. And I've come on the air and said, man, Undertaker needed to have one more match just to make it right. He never did. His last match, right? I'm not mistaken here. His last match was the cinematic match against AJ Styles at a WrestleMania that had no fans.
Sting had a nice farewell.
Sting had a nice farewell. There's no doubt. Sting had a nice. And Goldberg, you could say that the stage that Goldberg said goodbye was bigger than the stage that Sting said goodbye. Goldberg, on Saturday night's main event on network TV.
Network television is over pay-per-view.
No doubt. No doubt. I would say over a Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Network TV on Saturday night, a big weekend for the WWE. And that was one of the highlights, if not the highlight of the weekend.
And if you also think about the weekend, in the biggest wrestling weekend, they're saying your retirement is worthy of the main event and closing the show.
And that's the other thing, Tommy. Like, The Undertaker's last match, was it for a world championship? Goldberg's last match was for a world championship. And they
And
gave the match 15 minutes.
the one thing
I'm
that I heard,
shocked.
and I saw a lot of clips about, like when Ariel asked, is there an NDA? Oh, you'll be able to hear in 2 weeks. I don't think there's an NDA. I think, hey, you have a contract and your contract expires in 2 weeks.
Well, wait, Tommy, the quote that Goldberg said in the interview, this was the quote. In 2 weeks, I can spill the beans. It's exactly, in 2 weeks, I can spill the beans.
Well, I don't think there's a 2-week NDA. I don't think they would waste legal time for that. I think he's under contract for about 2 weeks, and hopefully there isn't more follow-up, because it doesn't shine the best light on something that universally was really, really liked.
You know, I'd love to get on Bret Hart, because I got to be honest with you, Tommy, Bret Hart been holding back. Bret Hart's been holding back. I thought Bret Hart was, you know what, this guy's a little bit too much. Like when it comes to Goldberg, he's saying too much. Being too hard on Goldberg. I don't think Bret Hart's been hard enough. I think he's been holding back.
Ruined your birthday.
At least the tail end. And then Ariel asks about, like, is this it? And Goldberg says, on principle, like, in principle, it's my last match. But, I dedicated 5 months for this last match. I've never dedicated 5 months, that amount of time, for one thing. He goes, I feel like it's a waste. He goes, I feel like it's a waste. He goes, so in principle, it's my last match, but it's wrestling. You never know. Really? Really? I was complaining about 3 years ago. He said, you know what? You're not only are you're next, you're last. And then three years later, he's in the ring in Atlanta. He's still leaving a slither of the door open that there could be a comeback for Goldberg. Can he just say, that's it, I'm done? That was my last match. Best case scenario, I'm going out. That's how I wanted to go out. I'm done. He had to do that. Well, in principle, yes, but what? There is no but. You're done. You're done. You're done. D-O-N-E, done. Done. No more Goldberg. I don't want to see him. I don't want to hear from him. I don't want any more tributes. I don't want any more ceremonies. If I'm Triple H, after hearing that interview, I'm like, fuck this guy. If I guarantee at some point yesterday, Triple H said to someone or to himself, fuck this guy. We just did all that for him, and he's complaining to Ariel Helwani? 15 minutes in, Tommy, I had to turn it off. I was getting so angry. I'm like, I can't let this guy ruin my birthday. He's ruined so many things for me throughout the course of the last 25 years. He's not ruining my birthday. So I turned it off. I turned it off halfway through because I couldn't take it anymore. I was getting nauseous. The dinner I had, the ice cream I had, celebrating my birthday, I was about to vomit all over the fucking floor because of this asshole. I had to turn it off. I turned it off. Not because of Ariel Helwani, because I love Ariel Helwani. Because of Goldberg.